Welcome back to the KDPG Sunday Edition. We're talking about the rising cost of higher education in Pennsylvania and the nation and what can be done to help students afford college. Back with us is Dr. Lindsay Page, Associate Professor of Research Methodology at the Pitt School of Education. And joining us now is State Senator Lindsay Williams of the North Hills, a new member of the State Senate Education Committee. Senator, welcome. How'd you end up on education?
Well, you know, that's my background. My prior job was working with the Pittsburgh Federation of Teachers, and I was working with Salim on the Pittsburgh Promise, so I'm excited to be working on the education issues on a state level now.
You have a union background, correct?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So from the vantage point of someone who sits on the State Education Committee, what's the biggest challenge facing Pennsylvania? Is it state funding for state schools? Is it college loan debt being out of control for so many Pennsylvanians? What is it?
It's interactive. Like, you have to do both, because you have to make sure that we're investing more in our higher education, because right now we're funding at 2006 levels for higher ed, but we can do that fixing the problem going forward. But we have an entire generation of students that are struggling under massive student loan debt. Myself, I'm one of them. I have $130,000 in student loan debt. I can't buy a house. I can't do these things, and there are a lot of families that are suffering under that. 65% of student debt in Pennsylvania is held by those 30 and older. So if we don't make that adjustment, they're not going to be investing in our local economy.
Right. So what can the state do about your debt?
So what myself and my colleagues, Senator Hughes and Senator Muth, have proposed is the Pennsylvania Help Act, which would refinance student debt, because right now we're making money off the backs of students at very high interest loans. What we would do is refinance it on the state level at the cost of what it costs Pennsylvania to service that debt. So it'd be 4%. Which would save an average student about $10,000. And that's a lot of money. That makes a big difference.
So not to get too much into the weeds here, but you're saying the state of Pennsylvania would take over your loan and charge you a lower interest rate.
Yep.
This is something the state government should be getting involved in. How do your Republican colleagues feel about that?
I see some interest, because students all across are struggling. It doesn't matter whether you're in a red district or a blue district. Your students and your families are struggling under that debt.
But is it better done at the state level, or should it be done at the national level, as Elizabeth Warren has proposed?
Who knows what's going to happen at a federal level and how long that's going to take. I think Pennsylvania can't afford to wait, and our families can't afford to wait, so we need to do it here, now.
Dr. Page, how does that sound to you? A typical case, right, of $100,000+ in debt, struggling, unable to contribute to the economy in ways that someone without that crushing debt burden might be able to do. Is what's happening in Pennsylvania indicative of what you're seeing around the country?
I think what's happening in Pennsylvania is indicative across the country. We really do. I want to underscore that we worry about a generation of students who have been asked to borrow extensively for higher education. I think one thing that we should think about is not only the repercussions for the borrower, but what intergenerational effects this might have. Are today's borrowers less likely to invest in higher education for their children because they experienced how long it took them to pay off? So I think that we want to think about addressing this problem not just for today's generations, but really thinking about it as an intergenerational problem.
And do you agree it's a government role to relieve students of that debt, make it easier for them to get out of it?
Yes, I think it would be an appropriate role for the government.
I mean, college is expensive, but are the students as creative as they could be? I mean, you can go to community college for 2 years and then to a four-year institution for the balance of your degree. I mean, should that kind of thing be promoted more?
You know, as I think about the rising cost of higher education, here's a metric that I think is really helpful to think about. Back in even not that long ago, in the late 80s, typical tuition for a four-year degree was about $3,500. For a minimum wage job, a student could work 500 hours to pay for that tuition for the year. Today, now we know that the minimum wage hasn't gone up that much in real dollars. Today, typical tuition for that same four-year degree is about $10,000. So where it used to take the student 500 hours to earn enough money, it now takes the student about 1,500 hours to earn the money to pay for that same degree. We're asking students and families to take on so much more. So I really don't think, maybe there's some room for creativity. I don't want to shut that idea down, but the order of magnitude in terms of what we're asking students and families to pay is triple.
And I think we don't just invest in like a traditional 4-year program. We invest in our community colleges with the 2-year program. We invest in our trade schools and make sure that kids have the full option. And I think that's very important.
So more than 8,000 students have benefited from the Pittsburgh Promise. You believe that a Pennsylvania Promise makes sense?
Absolutely.
And where would that money come from?
That would come from some, we're going to have to do some work to raise some revenue and maybe do a bond to raise that revenue. But what it would do is make that promise accessible for every student, and it would be the last dollar. So after you've already got your federal and your state, that money, the Pennsylvania Promise money, would come in for families under $110,000, would cover room and tuition, and then for families under $48,000, you would also get room and board. So it would help the neediest students the most be able to afford the full cost of the education.
Okay, forgive me if this is a really simplistic question, but instead of going to all the trouble of setting up a whole new program and calling it the Pennsylvania Promise, what if we could just get Pennsylvania schools in the state system of higher ed, for instance, to lower their tuition?
I think
Wouldn't
that
that sort of solve the problem?
That would be great if we could, but that takes investment so that they
So
are taking that cost off of students.
Okay, but why not point the investment to resources that already exist instead of creating a whole new program with various expenses that we don't have today?
I mean, I'm open to all solutions. I am open to all solutions because we're at such a, like we said at the beginning of the program, Pennsylvania is, depending on the study you look at, one of the worst in the country in how we fund our higher education. So if that's the solution we can move, I'm all for it. If it's the Pennsylvania Promise, great.
Would you expect private sector support for a Pennsylvania Promise, just like there's private sector support for the Pittsburgh Promise?
I mean, that would be great, but I think one of the struggles with the Pittsburgh Promise is keeping that funding level at a sustainable level. When you are primarily focused on state funding, we can make sure that that money is guaranteed for students for a long time, and it prevents less, fluctuations in that.
Were you aware that a Pennsylvania parent can send their child to Ohio State for out-of-state rates lower than in-state at Penn State?
I was not, and I'm going to use that talk. I'm going to steal that from Salim.
So, and another neighbor, New Jersey, has just instituted free community for low-income families. They started out as a pilot program at just a few of their community colleges. Now they're setting it up statewide. What about that in Pennsylvania?
That would be great. I think that's what Pennsylvania Promise is doing, because it's for those lowest families, it is covering the full cost. It's not, it's packaged a little differently, but for those lowest income families, the entire cost of the tuition and room and board is covered. And a lot of times we see, with community college in particular, 50% of community college students are food and housing insecure. So making sure that we take care of those is actually, oftentimes the line between a student dropping out of school is $500 for books. It is not the cost of tuition.
We're down to just about our last 30 seconds. Dr. Page, is there any evidence that we've reached a point where people are just saying, nope, college has become too expensive, not going to send our kids to a mainstream, a flagship state campus. They're going to choose more reasonable alternatives. In other words, has it just risen so high that colleges are losing enrollment and we're going to see a reversal? Is there any evidence of that anywhere? Very quick.
I would say the answer is yes, particularly because when you offer, we see this from the Pittsburgh Promise, when you offer students, when you provide students with more financial aid, they're making different choices.
Yeah.
We know that well.
Thank you very much. Right out of time. We'll take a break. Back in just a moment to say goodbye.